Hi, I'm Kraig Klaus, and this is State 48 Homeowner.
Hey everybody, it's a joy to be back at the State 48 Homeowner Podcast with Kraig Klaus and Steve Farrington. Kraig, what's different about the market right now?
Well, it's becoming more and more different every week. We started this trend in January where we are, a number of active listings is dropping off and the number of under contract is going up. A lot of that is more about lack of inventory than it is increase in demand. Demand has stayed relatively the same for the last probably 2 months. It's a little bit increased over the last couple of weeks, but the active count is way down. From an active listing standpoint, we're up 87% from last year, but we're down 10% from last month. So that's 10% less listings in a month. Number of under contract is up 11% month over month. Median sales price has now risen 3 months in a row and is up 3.4% from the low in January. So if you look at, say, May, June of last year was kind of the shift of things slowing down, I think you're looking at probably March of this year as being the kind of the complete shift back to things really improving. Again, listings right now, if they're priced correctly and they show good, they're most likely going to get multiple offers. Had that happen this weekend, listed one Friday, ended up with 4 offers by Sunday.
And just a ton of activity.
And we had 9 showings Friday and 11 on Saturday. We didn't get showings on Sunday because the seller didn't want to on Mother's Day at that point. She was not home Friday or Saturday, and she was worn out from that. But we're seeing that. We're hearing it. I mean, I'm talking to other agents. I read a thing that one lady, they went $25,000 over, waived appraisal on a house that needed like a new AC and needed work, and they still lost out on it.
Wow.
And it's a supply and demand issue more than anything, and that's just what we're going to see.
And that's the struggle, too, with buyers. We're starting to see more buyers interested. It's just them finding the house that they really, really want.
And a lot of buyers still think they have the leverage that they had at the end of last year, second half, and some situations, you may be able to get seller concessions and things, but, the last couple times that we've had multiple offers, and we haven't had to do a home warranty or any of that kind of stuff because we're back into that. And it's for buyers agents, it's going to become tougher because you got to educate your client that window of sellers being willing to negotiate and do a lot more has started to pass. And
that's why it's important, too, to have an experienced
Correct.
agent, because agents that don't do a whole lot of sales don't know that the market has changed.
Correct.
And they're gonna go in thinking they've got the leverage that they had back in December. And, Klaus team agents, we're talking, even if that specific agent, hasn't had as much done as you, we're continually talking and educating each other.
So maybe some of those buyers that were waiting for the crash, the housing crash, have kind of missed that window. I mean, we've mentioned it multiple times.
I mean, the opportunity to buy late last year, and now you would have been since January, you've been up 3.5% in appreciation that you won't be now, and that you'll be missed out on.
We've seen house prices appreciate in the Phoenix market.
Oh, big time.
Consistently.
Okay.
Yeah, consistently.
And people have to understand that home prices aren't moving in the same direction in every market
Correct.
in the country. And we mentioned that as well, multiple times. So it's good to hear.
Well, Phoenix is isolated a little bit. Again, we have 300 people a day moving here. We have master plan communities with newer homes, with track communities with tile roofs, things that are easy for everybody to be able to comp and everybody to understand. So, that's a big part of it. One of the things that gets thrown around a lot is the numbers, like, we're 20% down from last year, or next year we're going to have 20% less. That's typically talking about volume of sales, which we are way down in volume of sales. Significantly, which makes sense when you look at where inventory is, you look at where mortgage rates are, you look at the last 2.5 years of just a ton of transactions over those 2.5 years. So you have to kind of dissect. Headlines are what get attention. And so, if they say real estate market down 20% or whatever, it's typically talking about volume, transaction overall, not pricing.
And let's talk about the health of both of those. It doesn't mean that the real estate market is bad because we're closing fewer transactions. That means fewer people right now want to move, and we've traced that back. We know it's because sellers are rate locked. They're in a home that maybe they're not completely in love with,
right.
But they'd rather stay there. They love the mortgage where it's at, and so they're not moving. But other buyers are moving.
Correct.
Some of them may own, some of them may not currently own. We're seeing a lot of people taking advantage of first-time home buyer programs, people that are finally making that shift from renting to owning.
Yep.
And we're seeing people that maybe they own the property they're in, but their kids are going to stay there and they're going to go and move off somewhere else. And so people are still moving.
Yeah.
The problem is not a whole lot of people are listing their homes, which is why...
Yeah, you've got job relocations, you have people moving out of state, you've got divorce, you've got a lot of reasons that people are still selling. But, if you're in a 2.5, 3.25 mortgage, downsizing, right now you're going to be 150 to 200 grand less in price to get a lower payment. And so for a lot of people, that just doesn't make sense yet. I think as we get hopefully some relief in rates, and I still think if we get a 5 in front of rates, you're going to see a lot more activity, because you'll have people that are in a 3.25 going, okay, well, 5.25, if we use all this equity and put it down, then we can get a better payment and that type of thing. I think you're going to see more and more of that. But what we're seeing right now, and the reason we're seeing appreciation right now, is not like it was 2 years ago or a year ago with increase in demand because rates were so low. This is simply a lack of supply and getting worse. We were up over 21,000 in October. We fell under 12,000 last week for the first time since May of last year. So that's kind of where we're seeing the activity. And again, you take away, it's no different than any other thing we've dealt with in the last 2.5 years with inflation. You take stuff away, or you put too much out there for people. This is what's going to happen. There's not enough opportunity for people. And so, it's something that, educating people on the differences in our market versus others. And like you said, Scott, with buyers understanding what market they're in right now. And like talking to Suzanne on our team, she had a client on my listing that I put on that couldn't go Saturday because it was her birthday. Sunday was Mother's Day. Wanted to go look at it today. Well, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's under contract.
We're trying to get the word out to our buyers. If you are serious about purchasing a home right now, clear out your schedule a little bit.
Yes.
And if you see something you like, let's go see it today.
Yep.
Yeah, and we've had, showings have increased on average a little over 2 per listing since February. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but considering where it was and where we're at, we're getting more activity, but it hasn't been tremendously more. And the last thing I'll kind of mention on the state of the market, and you brought up kind of headlines and that from all over the country, but, there's the REO, the foreclosure tsunami, and all these other words I've heard coming up. As of April 30th, we had 25 residential foreclosures in April this year. That's the lowest number since September of last year, and it's a tiny fraction of the 200 we typically saw per month in 2017 and 18. So that's not coming, guys. If we were waiting around for that, it's just not going to come.
No, and just full disclosure, we're a HUD broker.
Yep.
And we have not gotten a call from them in years.
No. And I think you're going to start to see, one of the things that propped up the market at the beginning of last year was the institutional buyers, the open doors, the offer pads, the wholesalers, and they kind of quit April, May of last year. Open Door in particular has cleared out a lot of their old inventory now, so their offers are starting to become a little bit better. They're still not where they need to be, but give it a couple more months, then you're going to add them as buyers to the market again that are legitimate buyers and making decent offers to where people will choose that convenience. I've said it since the end of last year, second and third quarters where the majority of the transactions in equity will be this year.
Hey everyone, this is Kenny Klaus with Klaus Team Real Estate Solutions. We know there's a lot of confusion in today's market, whether it's billboards, TV, radio, mail, everyone's trying to get your attention. They offer one lane, where at the Klaus Team, we have over 20 different programs. We can help you navigate through to find out what's best for you. And remember, we work for you, they work for themselves. We're here to represent you and make sure you have the best experience possible.
Visit us at klausteam.com/call us first.
Now, before we move over to Steve, I do want to clarify for folks when we're talking about, we want to get out there right away to look at a house. What we don't have is where we were, months and months ago, about a year ago, a little bit before that, where there was a line out the door.
Yeah.
It was a circus. We're not seeing that. It is still a good buying experience. It's not crazy like it was, but we do want to act quickly because the property is probably, if it's, like you said, if it's priced right, if it presents well, it should go under contract within 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, within at least 2 weekends at the most. And we're not getting 10 to 12 offers like we were but you're going to get 2 or 3 solid, strong offers. And again, it comes back to, are you in love with the house? Go get it. Build on that appreciation.
If you're in love with the house, we're not in the market where you want to go, I'm going to test this low offer because, you might get a counter, but they probably have a couple solid offers.
Right now is where our buy then sell program is even more of a thing, because as a listing agent, contingent offers are just not real feasible right now.
And you're able to secure a home right now.
Yep.
Prices are going up.
You gain a little bit of equity
substantially and consistently.
Yep.
And so you get some joy there. Steve,
some joy.
One of the things that Kraig brought up is, boy, if we could get a 5 in front of interest rates, how can you help us with that?
I'm no help. I can't help you with that. I wish that I could, but at least what we've seen over the last several weeks is the steady sideways movement of interest rates. I mean, albeit that they're still in that high 6% range for most borrowers, some in the low 7s, some in the mid 6s, and some of the government programs have hit high 5s. Meaning VA, FHA, things of that nature. But at least we've stayed in that margin over the last several weeks, which is good because it's the hills and valleys that cause fear and, in periods of volatility. So at least we're there. Inflation continues to trend downward. It's just when we add all of the other elements that we need to see the continued trend. They want a bigger, more significant movement in the inflationary rate. They also want to get the debt ceiling issue cleared up. The bank failure, get that behind us a little bit further in the rearview mirror to where then rates start to come down. Because banks and mortgage companies, I'll be honest with you, in periods of volatility, rates I think they should be lower than they are right now. But banks and lenders are going to, just in periods of volatility, they're going to hold on to it just a little bit.
And you mentioned bank closures. We should still see more, correct?
Absolutely. Banks fail all the time. The regional, smaller banks, and it's just that movement of deposits. You will see more bank failures. And
I think some lenders may hold on to the rate high a little bit higher to make up some difference too from what they had. I know there's some talk, and like some even in inflation there, like some retailers are saying, we're going to keep our prices here even though our costs have gone down because we've got to make up for the past.
And like I mentioned, and
everybody's in it for profit. We have to keep that in mind.
100%.
Banks do like to make a profit.
Yes.
Most businesses do.
Most businesses thrive that way.
But they also understand, and I was talking last week with other agents, is that banks will also keep rates a little bit higher because they understand when rates do hit that, you're going to have that refinance activity. And now all of a sudden they're not getting that higher interest income. You're going to have early payoffs because it's not guaranteed that homeowner is going to refinance with that same bank or lender to keep that in-house. So again, they're trying to maybe hedge a little bit of the losses.
So they're kind of holding them a little longer than they normally would because they know a bunch of people are going to refi that bought in the last 6 months immediately.
Absolutely. So that's my answer. I think that as we head into the later summer months, you will see rates come down. Projection is probably late third quarter, heading into the fourth quarter, you're going to see rates with the 5 in front of it and consistently. We're not going to hit 5 and then bounce back up to 6 unless something dramatic happens.
So should we wait?
No, not from the information that we've discussed on a consistent. No, absolutely not. No, I don't know how else to say it.
Prices are going up. We can see rates coming down, maybe.
Sure. Yep.
And so if we wait for rates to go down, prices have gone up, and we've.
If we're going to continue close to 2% a month, and you're waiting till September.
Sure.
By the time you do that, even if rates are 1% lower, you're going to end up almost paying more because the price of the home will be higher.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you think other buyers are waiting for rates to come down? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And so that just brings more demand to the table where rates with a 5 in front of it probably aren't the catalyst that's going to get somebody with rates in the 2s or 3s to make a move. Right. And so we'll see substantially more demand, but still limited inventory.
Well, and there's also pieces of information that are floating out there in the internet, social media, that confuse home buyers. Maybe somebody that wants to get in the market, like we just talked about the housing crash.
Right.
maybe people that are more frustrated that they didn't buy when they could have, or I shouldn't say should have, but could have bought during that time, that they're going to maybe feed that fear a little bit more. But also there's, other half-truths out there. I mean, in April, one of the highest hit Google searches was the 40-year mortgages. Well, the truth behind the 40-year mortgages is there's very few lenders that actually offer a 40-year term. It's just not that profitable, but that 40-year term was available for FHA buyers that needed a loan modification if they defaulted on their current loan so they could stay in the home. That's what the truth was behind the 40-year mortgage, but people are looking for affordable ways because rates are higher. The other one that's out there is the recent May 1st, the LLPAs, or the loan level pricing adjustments that basically media outlets reported that the federal government was changing the way it charged home buying fees to borrowers, which they did. In the process, it became that they were penalizing people with higher credit scores, putting certain down payments between 15 and 20% down so they could help those with poor credit scores. And that's just not, there's some truth in there. I mean, yes, the pricing adjustments did go up for certain buckets, but they didn't do it so they could compensate for those with a lesser credit score. I mean, the fact of the matter is, the lower your credit score is, the more you're going to pay. So people with better credit that are putting a little bit more down are still going to get a significantly better interest rate than those with a lower credit score, even putting the same amount, 15 or 20% down payment.
So we should still pay our bills on time.
Yeah.
Again, yeah. Okay. Nothing's changed there. But it's just one of those things that you see a lot of rumor out there. And sometimes it causes hesitation for people not to get out in the market. It's like, well, they put in these loan level pricing adjustments and the housing market's going to crash. And, well, isn't there a 40-year term that I can make it more affordable even if rates are higher? And those things you can kind of just, shift left and get yourself in the market.
We shouldn't make mindset shifts, decisions, all that based on a news article or a Facebook post. Dive in a little bit deeper, read multiple articles from multiple sources, or just call one of us.
Yeah. And talk to somebody who has a vested interest in it. It's easy for people that aren't in the business or in the industry to say stuff about it and talk about it from the outside looking in, because you're only going to see the peripheral numbers. Again, transaction counts are down, and we did lose value last year and some stuff, and that stuff is just, that's what grabs everybody's attention because everybody is still fresh in their minds from 2008.
And why does it happen? Well, news posts, news articles, it's to drive traffic to a site and make money for an industry that is failing.
Sure.
Facebook posts. Generally, when we see stuff, and to your point, what you were just talking about, people will share stuff to give credence to whatever political leaning they have, whether or not it's real or not. And they generally don't care if it's real or not. They're going to go, oh, look at what they're doing. Look at what they're doing.
If they agree with the headline, or if the headline triggers something in them, then 100%. And that's the thing. And I've said it before, this is the first real estate market shift with social media. It's easy for everybody to be a quote unquote expert. And we talk about it all the time, and YouTube is full of them, and just things that...
And just consider the voice. If the voice is always saying doom and gloom to this, or leaning, very far on either end of the political spectrum. Just taking the opposite
of what the majority think.
Yeah, just go, okay, take it with a grain of salt if they're consistent. But if they're just bringing facts, that's the
and I always be careful when people put too much opinion in it, right? Like the data sources we use don't really get into conjecture or opinion. It's here's the information, here's what that typically would mean. And right now, you just have a lot of people want to put their own opinion in it. Because again, if I sat on here today and said, March of 2024, the market's going to crash, when March of 2024 comes and it doesn't, nobody remembers I said that and nobody cares. But I got a lot of clicks and a lot of headlines in the meantime. And
well, they're probably happy that it didn't.
They're happy that it didn't, so they don't remember you said it and they don't care.
Absolutely.
The Klaus team is different. With the Klaus team, you have someone on your side. Where you live and make memories is important. We have more unique strategies than anyone else to help you accomplish what matters most to you. We can help you with traditional real estate as well as other options such as our lease purchase programs. We can help you buy first then sell, and we can bring you instant offers. We're here to help our neighbors achieve the American dream and help them build wealth through home ownership. For more info or to start your home search, visit us online at klausteam.com.
And that's just the reality of, I mean, you see it in sports stuff all the time on TV now. They're putting guys on TV that take the craziest argument and take just because it draws people to engage. Right. And so the more crazy and wild take you have, the more engagement you're going to get. And that's just kind of where we're at. And that's where we don't try to overload with too much data and numbers. It's here's what we've dissected and here's what this means for you. And here's how we see this going forward. Again, I tell people all the time, if I would have sat in your living room in beginning of March of 2020 and you asked me what the rest of the year was going to be like, I would have been completely wrong.
Right.
Because
absolutely.
I wouldn't have known what was going to happen in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But the reality is we can lean on the data. We can lean on what we're seeing in the market to project what we expect. But it's always based on that. It's not this is going to happen.
Absolutely. And to your point exactly, because I remember you and I having the conversation in late 2019 and in the first part of 2020, helping people buy homes. It was like interest rates were high 4s, low 5s. Prior to the pandemic. So if you had asked me in February of 2020 where I projected rates to go heading into, the summer months, I would have said we would have probably been maybe in the 5%, maybe low 6s for certain borrowers in February of 2020. Well, that was not the case. I would have swung and missed on that, but people would have been happy.
Oh, I could have predicted things so well that I was at Disneyland with my kids the day before they closed the park. I had no idea that it was going to blow up the way it was going to blow up.
So to your point, I mean, you can project anything that you want, but, just right now when you see things come out and you see those clicks, you see those Facebook posts, you see those news articles, like dig a little deeper because it's that headline, it's that grab of attention.
And there's just so much uncertainty right now in the world, in the economy and everything that to try to predict more than 2-3 months of what we're going to see is just impossible because there's too many things and factors that can go in. But when you look at it from a supply and demand standpoint, which is what always drives any pricing on anything, we're nowhere near being in anywhere of trouble anytime soon by any stretch. I think, like I said before, we're going to have the rest of this year or at least the next 4 or 5 months of really busy, good, positive appreciation, I believe. Again, transaction counts will be down, but if we start to get some relief in rates, I think we'll start to see that pick back up. And I don't know what's going to happen in the fourth quarter of 2024. I mean, everything projects to continue the way things are.
No, we look at trends.
Right.
We can't just sit here and go, well, this week we had something better, or this month it looked better. But when we look at a 3-month average and rolling 3-month averages, we're seeing that it is consistent. Those prices are going up.
I'm on 18 months now of every night writing down the number of under contract and number of
Kraig
active
has a really exciting life.
Yeah, I know.
Well, and to that point, I mean, just when I talk about interest rates and where things are going, it's not a guess. I mean, I'm looking at historical patterns of when we're in this type of economy, when the inflationary trends are here, and we're in a high interest rate environment, this is what happens. This is where rates go, and it's, over 40, 50, 60 years of historical trends in these types of economies. I mean, this is not the first time that we may be headed into a recession.
Correct.
This is not the first time interest rates have been in the 6s or 7% range.
It's not the first debt ceiling showdown we've had. It's all part of
It's always
it.
a debt ceiling show.
Right. And that's part of it. I just think that, understanding what data can do for us to help us kind of guide, but understanding, you have to be in it, like you said earlier. And, fortunately, we're in it every day. We're seeing it. We have a big, wide track of listings from price points all over the valley, so we know what is being shown, what's not, what's causing homes to sell. And I think that's the most important thing, is just helping to understand that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I do want to caution people as we move into June, July, August, we're going to see a shift, and we're likely to see, when we look at year-over-year numbers, we're likely to see that it may go below 0% appreciation. It might go into the negatives. Historically, 4%, so 3.94% year-over-year appreciation is normal. Last year being in the 29, 30% year-over-year appreciation. That was not sustainable as prices have come down, and now they're coming back. Remember that the big shift happened this time last year.
Yep.
And so as we present those numbers in the newsletter and things like that, you might start to see that, oh my gosh, my house is fallen in price. Well, if it's,
well, the median
not
price
that much.
the median sales price month from April of 23 to 22 is down about 8%. But when you figured from January to April of 2022, we were up 12 to 14% just in that window. If we gave back 8 of that, when you look at it overall, and if we're coming at about close to 2% a month, another few months, and that won't be the case.
Sure.
Yeah, and when we looked at the numbers in both of our zip codes, 85212 and 85209 in April, it was still in the single digits, but when we went back to March, it was still double digits. But still seeing a 9% year-over-year price increase is still substantial when you consider historically.
Absolutely.
We're at 4% year-over-year.
Yep. That's it.
Still a good time to buy a house.
Absolutely.
All right. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to us at klausteam.com or 480-354-7344. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks for spending time with us this week at State 48 Homeowner, the ins and outs of owning an Arizona home. You can connect with us for more information, submit topics you'd like us to further discuss. You can see relevant videos, give us feedback, answer your real estate questions, and more at state48homeowner.com.